Now on Mississippi Insight, Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District is up for grabs. Republican candidate Kevin Wilson sits down with us to talk his priorities, why he's running, and what he wants voters to know before Election Day. Mississippi's 3rd District Congressman Michael Guest gives us the latest from Washington, covering the final appropriations bills, health care costs, and national security priorities. Don't miss his take on what's ahead for the country and our state. Mississippi Insight starts right now. I'm Byron Brown. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Insight. Republican Kevin Wilson is running for Congress in Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District, aiming to represent the district in Washington. I was joined by Wilson as he discussed his campaign priorities, why he says he's the right choice for voters, and what issues he believes are most important for the district. What's inspired you to run for Congress?
Well, I've been on the Adams County Board of Supervisors for 7 years, got elected 7 years ago, so got into politics, something I never thought I'd do. It's just wasn't my thing. I was in the oil business, but things around the county got, kind of crazy sometimes, and I'm like, somebody needs to do something about that. So the only way you can do something about something like that is to have a seat at the table. So I ran for supervisor and won. Now, as I've been there that long, I see different things. I watch a lot of national politics and what's going on, and so, something needs to change here, So somebody asked me about running for Congress, and I kind of shrugged them off and laughed at them. And after about the 5th or 6th time, finally got kind of serious. They're serious about this. I'm not exactly sure why, but they were serious about it. So I told them we'd go to church and pray about it the next day. So me and my wife go to church to pray about that, and it's just so you'll have the story that I didn't just wake up one day and decide, hey, I want to be a congressman. It wasn't anything like that. So we go to church that next Sunday and walk in, and the pastor's down front anointing people for illnesses or whatever. And so we walk down there to pray with the rest of the folks. And we got a big pastor, he's 6'5". And so he just reaches across right near the end of the service to anoint me, and he says, for decisions to be made. And I think that's odd. All the years I've been going to that church, I've never heard that. But so we go sit down, he preaches. My wife goes to the altar call, and I'm standing there by myself praying that, if I'm supposed to run for Congress, I need a sign. I said, God, we have a wonderful life, and I really need a sign. I said, my wife sometimes says I'm a little bit slow on the uptake, and as soon as I got through praying that, a girl put her hand on my shoulder. I had my eyes closed, and I opened my eyes, and she's standing there. She's in tears, and she says, Mr. Kevin, we need good Christian men to run for Congress. So I'm starting to look around a little bit, thinking nobody knows why we're here. But I hugged her and told her thank you, and she started to walk away, and she turned back and said, you need to run for Congress. I said, okay, thank you. Service ended, I go around front, and I see a few people. I sit by the pastor's wife, and we're talking along like I'm talking to you right now, and she just stops in mid-sentence. She says, Kevin, we need good Christian men to run for Congress. And I'm like, okay, I think we're going to run for Congress, because of 3 things in like less than 40 minutes. So it was just, I'd never really thought about it, but I've been in business for 35 years for myself. So I get to deal with a lot of regulations and laws and know how to do make payroll, and know how tough it is out there.
What about your professional and personal life prepares you for being in Congress?
I think probably my whole life I was a military brat. Bounced around from post to post and base to base. My dad's last duty station was in Natchez as the advisor to the National Guard. When we got there, he just loved it there. He was from way up north. But having to transfer school so much as a child, you have to learn to make relationships and deal with people all the time. So I grew up in that kind of structured family with the military. So anyway, I went in the Army myself. When I got out, first day after I got out of the service, I went with a guy that worked in the oil field. And he said, hey, go gauge that tank. You know, I go up there and open the hatch, and this gas blows in my face, and I see that oil flow in the tank, and I'm like, I got to do this. So I worked for 10 years in the oil business with other companies, learning all the ropes. Opened my own company up, bought one well, and started from there, and slowly but surely became the largest independent oil producer in Mississippi.
What would your top 3 priorities be if elected?
We need to deal with infrastructure. We went all through the Delta last week, hit 30 counties in 4.5 days, lost service so many times we couldn't count. So broadband throughout the Delta needs to be a priority. We've got to find a way to bring some jobs here. And we need somebody that's going to listen to the people, or at least be there for them.
The issue of affordability has been a big topic throughout this season. How would you address that issue of affordability?
I think things are going in a little better direction. I know, for instance, oil prices are way down because I'm in the oil business, so that cuts my profit way down. And I know everything has dropped a lot since I guess when Trump took over is when it really started. But the economy in general is really, if it is being more expensive for things, if inflation's up a little, it's up very, very little. And I see some things that are jobs, as far as the money for hourly workers has gone up. I don't know if it's caught up with the inflation rate. The inflation rate got out of control there for a while, but I like the way things are headed right now. The interest rates are coming down.
How would the issue of immigration, where we are standing in this country on the issue of immigration, where's your position on that, and how would you feel that the country needs to deal with the issue of immigration and the divide that we have right now?
Well, I really felt like the immigration as it was had to stop. It was out of control. Because if you don't know who's coming in here, you're going to have a lot of problems. And I think we've seen that. Now, what's happened, I guess you're specifically talking about Minnesota, for instance. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the solution is of that totally, to be honest with you. We do need to know who's in this country. I don't want to make any bones about that. Are they criminals? The worst of the worst need to get out of here. And there's so many of them, and where are you going to dig them out from if you don't do what they're doing? So, am I for everything that's going on up there? No. But a lot of that has to take place.
How do you tone things down, or how do you bridge the divide between Republicans and Democrats?
I don't know if it's so much a Republican-Democrat thing. It's just some people believe one thing and some believe another. But those Democratic leaders, especially up there, need to tone down the rhetoric a bit and realize that this really needs to be done for this country, for the good of everybody.
When it comes to you're running against a longtime incumbent, and what do you think your biggest challenge is going to be if you going against Benny Thompson?
Well, he's certainly got some name recognition, 32 years. But I think he's been there too long. I just, it's time for somebody to get in there that really is going to care about the people and take care of all the people. I want Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody to look at me and say, look, this guy started with nothing, which I did, and I made it now. And the people, not everybody could do that. Some people need help.
You're watching Mississippi Insight only on 12 News, and we'll be right back. How do you get the information out to the people to get to know who you are with the primaries coming up in March?
Well, we're working pretty hard on that. My crew's sitting over there, and they have run us ragged. I think we traveled 1,200 miles through the second district in 4.5 days, and we're getting a lot of calls for interviews, and places we're supposed to go open up a business or meetings or fundraisers, whatever.
What needs to change in the district?
I tell you what really got me most, and it probably was more so in Greenville and a couple other of those cities up there, is people are like depressed. I mean, they don't feel like anybody's helping them. Nobody's taking care of them. Nobody cares what's going on, and they'll see a difference with me.
And what do you hope to bring back to the district from Washington if you get into Washington?
I hope we're able to build the infrastructure up, repair roads, bring some jobs. A lot of times people in Natchez the same way. They think we're going to bring 500 jobs in at one time, those big IP plants, and that's not going to happen anymore. It'll happen in some places, but it's difficult because the training of the young children these days coming out of school, I think we need to open up trade schools and the VOTEC and get more back into that kind of stuff. You're 18 years old. How in the world are you possibly going to know what you want to do for the rest of your life? Because obviously you found something you love doing and you're still doing it. I found something I love to do and I'm still doing it. So it takes a while for young people to figure out what they want to do. Some of them know, in the 5th grade, they're going, I'm going here, I'm going there. I'm going to do this. I had no idea what I was going to do.
What about addressing public safety and crime in the communities? What role should Congress play in that, and how should you help with that?
Make sure that the sheriffs, the police departments have what they need. Because when crime goes up, I mean, people really start feeling really unsafe. They stop going out. They stop spending money. I mean, this thing of rolling the streets up at 6 o'clock as it's dark is kind of bad on folks. They don't want to be scared all the time. So the more we can do for the police and sheriff's departments, the better off we'll be.
How are you feeling as we go into the midterms? How do you feel that the Republicans would do going into the midterms where we stand today? The president is talking about his 1 year in office now. Mm-hmm. How do you feel that the direction of the country right now?
I think it's a little early for that because I don't think a year is enough time for him to have really done all that he's going to do. But I think things are turning around. I really feel like they are. Those interest rates, if they keep dropping, more people will be able to afford houses. Like you raise interest rates 1%. They went up pretty high one time 2 years ago. Somebody's house note jumps by $200 or $300 a month. That's a pretty good lick. Mm-hmm. So the further they go down, the less they're having to pay for housing, the more extra money they have.
What's the message you want to get out to voters to get to know you, or what do you want to leave them with?
I'd like for them to know that I'll be very available to them. I'll listen. We're going to show up, listen, and try to deliver on anything they're asking for. I don't think they've had that in a while, but I'll certainly be there to talk to them.
All right, Kevin Wilson, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you, man.
Appreciate you talking with us.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll be right back. U.S. Congressman Michael Guest is breaking down all of what happened this week in Washington. Congressman Guest is sharing the latest on the final appropriations bills, bipartisan efforts to address health care costs, and his perspective on key national security and economic issues facing the country.
Very optimistic that we're going to be able to pass the final 4 appropriations bills. Look, I'm excited that we've gotten 8 bills out of the House. The Senate has taken up 6 of those. We will get the final 4 bills out this week. And we will send those to the Senate. And I'm confident that we'll have Republican support to pass that legislation. And I think in some of the bills, particularly defense, labor age, transportation, housing, and urban development, that we'll also see that those bills have broad bipartisan support. The bill that will be the most difficult is Homeland Security, but we on the Appropriations Committee have been working very diligently on that bill, and I also expect that that bill will pass the House this week.
I was going to ask about Homeland Security, hearing from some of your Democratic colleagues that that's been a hang up for them. Has there been some bipartisan compromise there? Where do things stand?
What we've done is, we have looked at the bill. One of the things that the Democrats were wanting and that Republicans support is body cameras for ICE agents. Look, I'm a huge proponent of body cameras for law enforcement. I think many times that protects law enforcement as much as it does the public, because we know that there are times where people make allegations against law enforcement that are unfounded. And so that was something that the Democrats asked be included. Again, that is generally a Republican priority, and so we put money in the Homeland Security bill for ICE agents to begin to be outfitted with body cameras. But I do think that we are going to be able to get that bill across the finish line. Again, we will send those bills to the Senate, and then when they come back next week, they will have to take up the final appropriations bills, and hopefully they can get them across the finish line in the Senate to the president's desk, and we could avoid a government shutdown.
Healthcare was the big hang-up in the fall. I know there's PBM reform in this. What are your thoughts on the status of healthcare in this latest round?
I think the Democrats don't want another government shutdown. I think that they used that last time to keep the government closed for a period of roughly 6 weeks. We're not hearing, or at least I'm not hearing, widespread support from the Democrat base to tank these appropriations bills to try to force additional votes. Look, they got what they demanded. They demanded a vote on health care extensions. They were able to have that vote. We know that the House passed that. It was sent to the Senate. The Senate has had a previous vote. They failed to pass it there in the Senate. And so I don't believe, from what I'm hearing, that that will be an issue as it relates to these appropriations bills. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And look, that's one thing the Republican Study Committee, they're putting together a package for a budget reconciliation 2.0. And a part of that is going to be address cost of living. And a lot of that comes back to health care. We know that the rise in health care costs is a driver of our national debt. If you look at the amount of money that we spend in Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of that is driven by health care costs. And so I do think there's an appetite to control health care costs, to do what we can to make sure we are getting quality health care, but at an affordable price. That is something I think both Republicans and I believe Democrats want to work across the aisle on that. So I do think that we're going to see, after these appropriations bills are signed by the president, we're going to see a bipartisan push to work to bring down the cost of health care.
Looking ahead, once we're done with the appropriations, maybe there's some health care reform. What are some top priorities for you?
Again, it's cost of living. That's what I hear about when I'm at home. And look, Republicans, I think, have done a good job with that. If you look at under the Biden-Harris administration, we saw cost of living, inflation increased 9% under Biden-Harris. It's down below 3%. We see the stock market is at an all-time high. We see GDP growth. We see interest rates are down. The 30-year mortgage rates are now below 6%. And so there's a lot of positive economic news out there, but we've got to build on it. And we've got to make sure that we are making things affordable for the American people again.
The president this week has been threatening tariffs on countries that are not supportive of his plan to require Greenland. Do you think tariffs are a good way to go?
On this particular issue, I don't. I think that tariffs need to be targeted. I've supported the president before on many of his tariffs that he has imposed. And look, there is a need for tariffs in situations, particularly where we have American businesses which are at a disadvantage. And the president has used those tariffs well. In this particular case, it would not be something that I would support. I do support continuing the conversation to see what we can do to potentially purchase Greenland. We did that with the Louisiana Purchase. We did that with Alaska. We know going back all the way to the 1940s that presidents have looked at Greenland as very strategic for America's military defense, as well as having a lot of natural resources and things that are important there. And so, look, we need to continue that conversation. And if we can find a path forward, I would be very supportive of that.
Do you want to see more congressional involvement when it comes to that or other international issues like Venezuela?
I think at some point, as it relates to Greenland, if a deal is struck by the president, I think you would then want to come to Congress, get congressional approval. I think what we've seen in Iran, what we've seen in Venezuela is the president having to act very quickly on timely intelligence where military action has to be taken, and those decisions have to be made in a time frame that would prohibit Congress from being involved. And so I do support the president's arrest of Nicolas Maduro. I think that was an incredibly successful military operation to bring a fugitive to justice. And I think everyone across our hemisphere is going to be better off with Maduro in custody and behind bars. And look, I supported the president's strike against Iran when he took out their nuclear facility. I think the president is acting in the best interest of the American public. And so I continue to support him in those endeavors.
You're watching Mississippi Insight only on 12 News, and we'll be right back. If you have comments or questions about today's show or suggestion for an interview or segment, just drop us a line. Email our producers. The address is news@WJTV.com. Big thanks to Kevin Wilson and Congressman Michael Guest for joining us this week. We'll be back next weekend with more of the political and current affairs coverage that you demand. I'm Byron Brown from all of us here at 12 News. Make it a great weekend.